where countless African nations are still shackled by poverty, corruption, and broken promises. Where people have waited for decades hoping for progress, only to be betrayed again and again. In such a world, a new ray of hope is rising. But to truly understand this hope, we must first understand the darkness that came before it. For generations, Africa has been the land of paradox. A continent blessed with rivers that could light cities, yet its people often live in darkness. A continent whose soil holds gold, uranium, and rare minerals, yet its children go hungry. A continent where leaders gave promises of freedom, but too often delivered chains of dependency. Villages across Africa have waited decades for the sound of electricity humming through wires, for the sight of irrigation flowing into their farms, for the dignity of independence. Instead, they were met with broken promises, corruption, and exploitation. And yet, from the very heart of West Africa, something extraordinary has begun to emerge. This light has emerged from the heart of West Africa. There stands a young soldier who does not just carry weapons, but also carries dreams for his people. A dream that symbolizes courage, dignity, and transformation. This is the story of Ibrahim Traoré, the leader who is not just building dams and roads, but carving out a future of freedom and independence for his people. Ibrahim Traoré is not just another name in African politics. He is not a man who rose to power by luck or wealth. He is a man who rose because the people demanded someone who would finally listen, someone who would finally act. At an age when most leaders are still waiting for their turn, he stepped forward to take responsibility. At only 34 years old, he did what many thought impossible. He challenged corruption, he challenged foreign domination, and he declared that Burkina Faso would walk its own path. Cut to construction footage, a dam. Behind me stands a dam under construction. Not just stone, cement, and water. It is a symbol of revolution. It is the answer to centuries of suffering. Think about this for a moment. A dam may look like nothing more than concrete holding back water. But in the heart of Africa, it is so much more. It is power, literally and symbolically. For centuries, Africa's rivers have flowed endlessly, yet the energy they carried was stolen or left unused. Foreign companies dammed rivers not for Africans, but for their own industries, their own cities. The result? Villages left in the dark, fields left dry, people left waiting. Once, Africa's rivers were in the hands of foreign powers. They took the water and resources away, but left behind only darkness. Once, the lights of electricity shone only in Western cities, while Africa's villages drowned at night. This is not just history, this is lived memory. Grandparents in Burkina Faso still remember nights lit only by candles. Farmers still remember walking miles to fetch water. Children still remember studying with nothing but the dim light of fire. But today, under Traoré's vision, the dream is crystal clear. Energy for the people, food for the villages, and total freedom from foreign chains. This dam is a defiant statement. This dam is not merely a source of electricity. It is a symbol of Burkina Faso's strength. It is a declaration that we can stand on our own feet. It is a message for the entire continent. We can build, we can create, we can rise without bowing to anyone. Ibrahim Traoré was not born into wealth or privilege. He grew up in a land of farmers and hard-working families. Burkina Faso, a nation the world often ignores. Here, people sweat in the fields under the sun, but their harvest was stolen by foreign companies. Yet Traoré felt the pain of his people. Burkina Faso is not a country that usually makes global headlines. It is small in population compared to giants like Nigeria or South Africa. It is landlocked with no ocean ports. And yet, within its soil lies gold, cotton, and minerals that the world desperately desires. But for decades, those resources benefited outsiders more than the people. Traoré was born into this reality. He did not inherit palaces or fortunes. He inherited the struggle of his people. He refused to bow before corruption or seek an easy life abroad. Instead, he chose the path of service. As a soldier, he stayed close to his people. He saw with his own eyes how foreign companies plundered the mines and lands, how terrorist groups spread fear and bloodshed, and how leaders served everyone but their own people. This shaped him. This gave him clarity. And when the time came, he made a decision that would echo across Africa. Then came the year 2022. At only 34 years old, Traore made a decision that shook the world. He rose against the corrupt system and stood firmly with his people. From that moment on, he was no longer just a soldier, but the revolutionary voice of Africa's youth. But power is never given easily. Every revolution has its enemies. The young leader faced pressure, threats, and adversaries from both inside and outside. No empire in history has ever let go of power willingly. And the same is true here. Burkina Faso's shift away from Western dominance shook the corridors of power in Paris, Brussels, and Washington. Pressure came quickly. Threats became frequent. Plots emerged from within. Western powers tried to force him into obedience. They wanted Burkina Faso's government to return to the old ways. Terrorist groups sought to destabilize the land. Even internal enemies plotted against him. But Traore stood firm like a rock. He was not just fighting for himself. He was fighting for the millions of young Africans who were watching him, who were waiting for someone to prove that courage still exists. He declared, "Africa must belong to Africans." He built alliances with nations that respected sovereignty. He spoke directly to the youth, saying, "You are the true strength of this nation." And indeed, the youth responded. Across Burkina Faso and beyond, young people began to see in Traore a mirror of their own hopes. They saw someone unafraid to stand up to the powerful, someone who would not bow. And that is why projects like the dam are not just construction works. They're living proofs of freedom. Every brick, every crane, every drop of water declares, Burkina Faso will not bow down. Now imagine for a moment, a future where every African village has light, where children can study at night without candles or lanterns, where farmers no longer wait for rain, but irrigate their fields with modern systems, where industries thrive, jobs increase, and economies rise. This is not just a dream. This is what energy means. Electricity is not just light, it is opportunity. It is factories that employ thousands. It is schools that run computers. It is hospitals that can save lives. It is farmers that can harvest more food. It is dignity. This is the future Ibrahim Traoré is fighting for. Not through speeches, but through action. Not with words, but with buildings, roads, and dams. Think of history's greatest leaders. They are remembered not for promises, but for what they built. Traoré understands this. This dam is not just a project. It reflects a greater dream. A vision where Africa's rivers, mines, and lands are used for its own people, not for foreign powers. And how do outsiders see this dream? They don't see just development. They see resistance. They see the rebirth of a nation. So when you look at this dam, do not just think of electricity. Think of the light of freedom. Think of the fulfillment of dreams buried for generations. Think of the power of young Africans who dare to dream bigger than fear. What you see rising is not just concrete. It is a revolution in stone. Ibrahim Traoré is not merely building walls of concrete. He is constructing a revolution. He is turning an idea into reality. And from the heart of Burkina Faso, his message echoes across the world. The time of Africa has begun. So, what do you think? Is Ibrahim Traoré truly the beginning of a new chapter for Africa? Or is he just one man standing against the storm? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to spread this message of hope and resistance to the world. And Burkina Faso's flag waves proudly over the dam. Music rises, the story leaves its mark.